questions or advices to us you can give us in the end of the lecture. And I think it will be useful for us. And maybe in future we will have an exchange between our staff, between our lecturers in our master's program. And Mr. Procek, would you like to take over?
Sorry, to take what?
Over.
Alright, yes, it's not normally the hours we do our classes, we do it usually in the evening, because some students are working during the day and in the evening they have their classes. And I like the format of the lecture, not the format of the lecture, pure lecture like we used to know it, and I like the format of discussion or dialogue. That's why I invite you to ask questions if you see something you want to talk about, and it will be very interesting for our students if you comment on something. And our students, I invite you in our interactive lecture to take part, and as usual, to be active, because this information will help you in your practical tasks afterwards. So we're going to start one of the major functions. So we're going to study one of the major functions of human resource managers and directors. In any company you will be working at, or you will have your own company, is the evaluation of employees and education of employees. And the aspect of evaluation here we will discuss is for educational purposes most of all. Because usually we don't spend money on just training, we spend money on the training we really need. And sometimes it's really hard to understand whether this training will be effective or whether we really need this type of training or not. And this is the part of the evaluational function. And where is these functions, those functions in the strategic human resource management process? Here we already have passed the analytical part, planning part, recruiting part, and the selection part with you. And now we come to the point where we need to train new personnel we have in our company, and to train and design training for those who already work inside the company, so they will work better, more effectively. And here we will take some functions from the performance management block to understand what are the training needs for the current employees we have in the company right now. So starting here. And usually when we talk about evaluation of employees, we usually use the term performance management, and the description of the term is written here on the board. So we continuously analyze what are the performance problems of each job level in our company, and what we can improve with the training, first of all, to make those employees work more effective or work better, know more, create more, have other competences they didn't have before. And this is called the performance management process in the company. And why do we really need to appraise performance? Of course, there are some other benefits of appraisal of performance, but we're going to stick today, as I have already said, on two of each of these functions, as the appraisal will let us to make the development plan for our company, for our employees, and finally we can understand what are the training needs in the company when we do the process of appraising performance. And what are the criteria of effective performance management? First of all, and as in any function of human resource, we should take a look at the strategy of the company. And if the strategy changes, you could change your human resource processes. If not, you should stick to the strategy all the time. Whether you are the manager, the owner, or the human resource director, you stick with the strategy of the company, always. Then you will take the tools you will need that will have enough validity and reliability. Of course, you will use the tools and techniques that you will be acceptable for the company to conduct. And one of the main criteria of effective performance is the specific feedback, because it's not enough to make a performance appraisal process in the company. You will have to make sure the feedback is done in the correct form, and our employees really understand what are the results of the performance appraisal and what they will need in the future to overcome those undevelopment competencies, for example, or what they will need in the future to increase their career potential. And here is the graph of main steps in the performance evaluation. So we already talked about specifying relevant aspects of performance. They should be tightly connected with the strategy. Then we do the process of performance, we conduct it, and we provide feedback, which might come out with the problem solving of our employees, of each employee, or their reward session, if we need to reward people who was in the top or who was performing at the rates at the standard we already stated in the company. And as for you as human resource managers, there are three basic sources of information about appraisal, what to appraise, first of all. Of course, the first you should look at are the goals which are set to your employees in the company. And in Russia, usually human resource managers start with goals, and rightly so, because goals are usually tightly connected with the strategy and they can be evaluated easily. But anyway, if you look at the goals for your employees, you should analyze whether those goals are motivating enough for employees to participate in. And here are the description of the goals which are motivated enough so employees will be involved and engaged in achieving those goals. So the goals should be specific, measurable, realistic, and encourage participation. And here I wrote that they should be realistic but have a little bit doubt in. They should have challenging and realistic. Why is that? They should be challenging and realistic. Why is that? What do you think? Nice.
So maybe because they should, as in the fourth, encourage people to do something, but do something that they can really do, not just some dreams or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And what does it mean that they should be challenging? It means that Anastasia, can you help them? Can you help Alexandra? So we take a look at the goals, but they should be challenging. It means that you shouldn't be able to achieve a goal doing nothing. Like if the trend is going high and you see that in your forecast, doing nothing, you will achieve this goal without any additional activities. These goals should insist that you make some other additional activities and efforts to achieve it. That's why it should be challenging, but it should be realistic at the same time. Not too high, so you won't even aim at this goal. And when you analyze the goals, of course, it's one part of the appraisal standards you will look at. The second part is are competences that you might look in your employees. And the source of the competences you can take usually from talent management if you have this process in the company, or you can use your job description. Well, we've already had practice with designing and creating job descriptions for your companies. So, and if you do it right, you know that all of the mission critical for the company competences of an employee are written over there. So you can take them and design your appraisal performance process effectively. This is the first step. You should understand what to analyze in the company. What goals, if you do, if the level of employees have some commercial goals, you take the goals. And the other part, you take competences that this level of employee needs to fulfill its job description and the job duties 100%. The second step of the appraisal is to define who should do the appraisal. Yeah.
Well, you'll have some information for developing the course. Maybe some weak areas will be strengthened, enhanced. Well, some information, further research will be done, and more information will be gathered.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Develop the course.
The course will be modified.
Yeah, contribute.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. So our students, they evaluate our teachers each semester. So we get these results. So of course this is quantified, and we can see how students evaluate or praise the teacher. Yes.
Yeah.
If students are satisfied, so nothing happens. Yeah? So we of course will give the results of this, send it to the teacher and send it to the head of the department. But if the results are not good, so we have to think, we have to look at that, what's evaluated badly by students. Yes, but of course this is only one way of evaluating.
Of course.
Yeah? So, but if like most of the marks would be like you have like 7 is the strongly agree, 1 is strongly disagree. So if he would have average rate from the students 3, but again it depends how many students were in the class and how many did the evaluation. If the whole class evaluated the teacher, and if we can see there are bad marks, so we start to think what's wrong. Are the students wrong, or is a mistake with the instructor? Yes, and you would talk probably with the lecturer. You would talk with the head of the department. You try to understand what happens.
And will it influence the motivational part of the salary of the instructor?
You mean pay rise?
I mean, he will be underpaid, or he will receive no bonus for example, for the course.
It's possible. It's even possible that he will stop teaching. Yes, but I think these are extreme solutions. This happens very rarely.
Of course,
because as I told you, this evaluation is only one evaluation. Yes, one side of evaluating a teacher at university, because he's also a researcher. He does other activities. It's an important feedback, but
Not the only one.
But not the only one. Okay? So there might be any possibilities are open there. I might say, based on this and discussing with the teacher, that we think that this teacher is not skilled enough to do this job. Yes, and then you might think that maybe he or she cannot continue teaching next semester, that maybe we must do some training. Yes.
Or he should develop himself in these competencies.
If you understand that the problems are maybe from less of training, for example, in the English language, yes. So the students might not be satisfied with because the language skills are not enough. Yes. Professional skills are there, or maybe professional skills are not enough. So then we would analyze what is missing. And of course, financial sort of fine or firing would be very extreme. Yes.
Thank you very much. So you explained once again the core of the evaluation and appraisal process. So you make the decision whether to change the process, whether to create a development plan, and finally, as the final tool, you will fire and dismiss the employee that doesn't suit the requirements of the program. And thank you very much that you mentioned that we should not only look from one side, we should look from different sides. That's why we, in many companies, they usually use, and in my company either, we use 360 degree feedback. When we are rated not only by our peers or superiors, but from 4 or 5 sides. And here I want to show you the example of such a report. I've been evaluated in my company. You see this, Andrei, my name and surname, and the report looked like that. Individual report. I've been evaluated 360 degree, and additionally I've been evaluated by clients. And usually this report consists of the instruction how to do it for the evaluating part and for the part that will read the report for me. And usually it consists with the results, the marks you have got from different sides of the evaluation. And as for example, this competency influence, this is one of the competencies which are vital for managers at your state company. And as for such sub-competence which was evaluated, like identity approach, I believe it's alright, because everybody evaluated pretty much the same. But as for the competence, sub-competence like participation in the conflicts, I can see that there is the dissonance between, for example, self-assessment. I assessed myself high, like this competence was the maximum, and my subordinates evaluated myself pretty low, right? What information does it give to us if you face such situation? Do you have an idea?
Well, if they say that there is some lack of participation in conflicts, I think the most of the conflicts is connected with subordinates. So I think their opinion may be very valuable.
Yeah, it means for me, as their head, that I should take part in the conflicts. That there are some conflict processes inside which I don't take part in and don't regulate. And that's why they voted me low, but my peers and even my clients evaluated me rather high. I should take part, this is my zone of development, and afterwards I can create my development plan in this management competencies. That's why we need appraisal, this process. And here's the outcome of the 360, where, for example, strengths are depicted and development zones are described to what should I do next to develop competencies which are not at the average or above average level. And the third step in the appraisal process, what you should do, is to very carefully choose the appraising technique. How would you rate the results between the employees? How would you understand who is on the top, who is on the bottom, and who needs what? And the first technique is the rating scale method. You have this sheet in your handout. Basically, it's the method it's the technique when you write down the goals of the employee or competences you're looking for, and make sure that you evaluate and superiors of this employee and its peers evaluated on the scale from not strong to very strong. Basically, it looks this way. And afterwards, you come down to you summarize the amount of numbers you have got for each competence. Second technique is the alternation ranking method. When you have not to evaluate each competency for an employee, but you will have to spread your employees between each other. You will have to choose who is on the first place, showing this competency who is on the last place. So according to this ranking method, you will always have the losers and you will always have to put somebody at the top. They put 70 in the middle and 10% of underperformed people which they dismissed. Let's say it's like that. And it usually happened all the time, even for the top performing teams. That's why it was sometimes ineffective. But they use it nowadays. And another method is critical incident method, when you write down all the positive or negative incidents which happened with the employee. We'll have the example here. Like an employee has his duties and he has his targets according to this duty. And what happened? You write down what happened definitely with while he was achieving this target. This critical incident method, we will talk about it a little bit later, and it's very useful when you need to conduct the appraisal interview afterwards, because everything has been written down. You have the information in front of you when you conduct the appraisal interview. We've got narrative forms. It's like coaching methods, narrative forms of appraising, where you hand out appraisal coaching worksheets to superiors, and they fill it in according to their understanding of situation about each employee. They fill in the form what zones of development they see in their subordinate. Finally, what we should say some words about is the appraisal interview, which is very important, especially for management level, for any level of employees. It's very important, especially if you want to increase the productivity and drive in your company, to increase input of everybody. You should conduct quality appraisal interview after you've got the appraisal process finished. And this is the step of the feedback you give. Usually it is given in the form of appraisal interview. important. If you want your people to stay motivated, you have to conduct effective appraisal interview. And we will practice at our laboratory, but we will practice to create and to do the appraisal interview. So you will have this skill, which is very important. And I believe we've got something like 15 minutes left. We should talk about the analysis of new employees. So you take the employee will do according to the regular everyday basis, and find out what type of learning will be best for this step in the duties. For example, to start the motor, it's better to learn on the job training, and for example, to shut off the cutter, it's better to use on the job, but practice first, because it's connected with the risk of using the cutter. Another source of information about training needs is the profiles and competency model of the company, if you have one. We already mentioned it. And you already started and created for your companies this competency model, and you know that you have some critical competences for the employee which you need to, for example, train before he goes out. If he goes out and starts working for you. For example, for your state company, we accept when we take somebody for the role of the salesperson, he has to pass 30 days of training, salesmanship trainings. Without this, and when you do all these steps of analysis for your company, finally you decide whether these deficiencies in competences, whether they are what he can't do right now, employee can't do, or won't do right now. And that's the main difference. If he can't do, of course, we can learn him what he can do. If he won't do, what would you do? Will the training fix the situation or not? If he won't.
If he is unwilling to do, you mean?
Yeah,
unwilling.
I just clarify.
Training is not a decision, it's not the right decision. I believe. If he won't do, he can, but he won't. He don't want to do what?
Any other opinions? Basically,
pay rise.
Sorry?
Pay rise.
Pay rise.
Oh, sorry, we're talking about evaluation and training. And if he won't do, I believe a pay raise won't fix anything either. And you should check the behavior, whether he shows this behavior. And you should finally analyze whether you have the results, financial, first of all, results or production results after the training. You have.
Well, training presupposes some training costs, right? What the criteria you apply to employees? I mean, who is the lucky guy to choose for training? I mean, not everybody can have such a privilege, right, to get a free training from the company. Are there any criteria?
If we go back to the, for example, to the competency model of human resource managers, we've got a business model. Sorry, we've got a business model, how our business works, what we earn from. And if we are talking, for example, the retail company which sells something, Of course, we earn from sales. First of all, it is the mission critical function for us, sales. That is why, first of all, we should analyze the sales force competency model and what we need to train them for at the very beginning and after they already have some experience, so they achieve the best and bring the best results for us, so they increase sales all the time. They will be the luckiest guys in any retail sales companies because it's our business model.
Yeah, I'm not competent enough in this area, but still I've got some, that's why I have some questions again. Well, I mean, they are employed, it means they don't lack any competence. I mean, before you employ them, you test them, right? I mean, if you find out that they lack this competence, how come they lack it if you employ them? I mean, they need additional training because they can't perform their duties effectively, and I don't.
So if we
why did you employ them?
Afterwards, why did I employ them?
Yeah.
When we do screening of people before the employment and testing them, interviewing them, we find out what basic competences do they have or not. And if they potentially have the ability to do sales, for example, they are not afraid of people, we will test it. They are open, for example, right? They are motivated by money. We will check this. And if they have all these attributes,
key competences,
attributes of the character and key competence. If we observe them, we might accept him and then train skills and sales.
Just one little final question.
Right.
Okay, and I mean, what if they get some training and they leave? I mean, is there any guarantee that they don't leave? I mean, do companies tend to train people who have spent some time with the company, or just newcomers can also have this training from the start?
Thank you, good questions. For human resource managers, it's a very important question and a headache at the same time. And I don't know what happens in the Czech Republic, but in Russia we cannot, for example, train a person and then make him pay for the training if he leaves before, for example, the probation period or a year. According to the law, we cannot do it. And that is why it's the waste, pure waste. If we accepted the person, we screened him, interviewed, believed that he is the person who will bring efficiency to the company and create sales, and after the training he will leave. Of course, it's still it's the waste. And afterwards, you are right that some trainings which costs more maybe or need some experience, we will do after a person has some experience in the company. Like after 3 months of experience in sales, 1 year, he will get some additional courses and trainings for additional competences. And usually we will prepare him for management roles, which costs more.
Thank you.